structure over
to teach standards that they can. We don't get our students jobs. We don't have a job because we're not getting jobs.
I think I've introduced myself to most of you, but if not, I'm Linda Avant. I'm an academic affairs on campus, an assistant professor and sort of the coordinator of this. I'd like to draw a little bit of attention to some of the things in your packet, and then we'll get the program going. There is an agenda. First of all, the one thing, whether it's technical education working on this campus or just orientation, one rule remains, and that is be flexible. There will be a few changes that even until yesterday you didn't realize were coming in, and that we'll make some adjustments. Primarily the beginning and ending times stay the same. Just some of the content changes in the middle. Also in your packet, you'll notice there's a little sheet that says something about tour highlights, and that's sort of a rough sketch of where we plan that you will be touring tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about some of the reasons behind some of these locations a little bit later. Appear a little non-traditional. On the left side, I think you'll also find on a gray sheet a list of participants. And as you can kind of look at the list and look at some of the chairs here, you realize that maybe we don't have everyone here that's going to be here. We've had a couple of people for various reasons have to go do something at the last minute. Someone that maybe was hired without 2 weeks notice for the employer that may not be here until Monday. Family emergencies and just some lost people along the way. So this is generally who we're expecting. We will have some of these people dropping in from time to time. Know that some of you that are not so new employees probably also have some obligations that you'll have to slip out to from time to time. For this first orientation, we decided that we would go back a year. And for someone that's been on campus a year, that's sort of that's one of those things that yes, you've been here a year and you're pretty familiar with everything that goes on. On the other hand, you're still kind of new and learning a few things. So some of these people are going to make some judgments about how much of the program they'll participate in and how much they'll be gone. I guess the rule is those of you who are really fairly new, got a couple of good days planned for you. Day 3 has not been canceled, it has been postponed. And we will pick it up, the day on effective teaching, we will pick up in another couple of weeks, probably on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And we'll explain a little bit more later as to why some of our changes have been made. Also in the packet, as we told you in visiting with you or when we mailed you your cover letter with your packet, we've said that this is our pilot. This is the first time we've done one of these, and so included in your packet is an evaluation. We would like you to be fair with us and just simply, what is your opinion? Did we succeed in telling you some of the information? Realize you may not know if you've missed some information or not, but was it informative? We ask you provide comments whenever possible, and this takes us up through tomorrow at 2 o'clock when we get ready to go on break before we go on a tour. And I might ask that you spend a little time, whether it's at breaks or toward the end of the day today, get today kind of caught up. And that way tomorrow at 2 o'clock you're not frantically trying to throw down a couple of circles and a couple of comments just so you can get out on the tour on time. And finally, we'll put notebook paper and a pen for you. There's some worthwhile things. We may have some handouts, and if so, you have pockets in your folders to hold those. A lot of our material may be overhead, so you may want to take some notes. And I think at this time, might go ahead and let's introduce Bob Klobnish, campus director. And after he has his portion on the program, we'll spend a little time getting to know each other.
Thanks, Linda. I'm going to use the overhead projector, so we may, and I think maybe I'll just project on that east wall. Might be easier than trying to project on the screen, so we might rearrange just a little bit for some of you sitting around Linda don't have the head quite so much. I'm pleased to have all of you here today. I remember a few years ago the story about the mother, about this time of the year, she hollered up to her son Johnny and she said, "Johnny, it's time to get up and go to school." And he said, "Yes, I'll be there in just a little bit." And about 15 minutes later, he still hadn't come down, and she hollered back up again and stood upstairs and said, "Johnny, it's time to get up and come to school." And he said, "Yes, I'll be there in just a little bit." And so about 30 minutes later, he still wasn't downstairs getting ready. And finally she said, "Johnny, now get up. It's time to get ready to go to school. You're 35 years old and you're the principal." We may have power here.
It's on, just push it all the way over to the other side. It should.
Well, several things that I would like to do this morning, and still, if some of you are too close, there are 3 or 4 or 5 chairs back there, if you feel more comfortable going back a little bit further. And what I would like to say is that keep the session informal, and as we go along, if you have questions or would like further explanation, either asking me or asking someone else, let's deal with those discussion questions as we go along, and kind of rather than waiting until the end. But to start with, I think Linda gave you all a piece of paper and a pencil in your packet if you didn't bring one with you. What I'd like to have you do is, if you would, is on just a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil, make a little diagram that looks like that, if you would. And that won't take you very long. Then after you've made that little diagram, if you would connect all 9 of those dots with 4 straight lines without picking up your pencil. I'd like to have you just take a few seconds and do that. Pardon? Oh, no, it's not a test. So, no test. No test whatsoever. At least, I don't want to break them. Let me see. Does somebody have?
Just messed you up there. That's what you get for asking me to move.
It's okay to work in pairs. I believe in pair learning. So, for small groups.
without picking up your pencil. There's got to be some. You got to cut straight.
Let me see, did somebody get it?
If you've seen it before. I haven't seen this.
Well, okay. One way is, pardon, got it? Okay. Well, one way is just like this. I'm not real steady here. The line's just not real straight. Okay. Well, the point of that, the follow-up is a little bit, is that in focus in the back?
Not quite.
Is that, and I think maybe it kind of says it in that first sentence, we need to look outside the existing way of doing things if we are to be innovative. And when we first look at that box, our inclination for most of us is to try to connect those lines staying within that box, or to stay within, if you want to call that a paradigm. And we need to be more creative, and we need to be more innovative. And if we're going to change, we're going to be in higher education, and particularly the type of higher education that this institution is. We can't stay within that box, or we can't stay within the existing paradigm. We have to look and expand our vision, and to, on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, technical education changes consistently and constantly. You people were hired for lots of good reasons, and we may not have, I don't know if there's any perfect way to hire people. In fact, I guess I don't think there is, because there'd be, somebody would be a multi-millionaire if there was a perfect way to hire people. But I want to tell you that as we hire people, and as we think about hiring people over the last few years, we're very concerned about hiring people that are innovative and that are creative, and that we think have the capability and the flexibility and the attitude to get outside the box, to get outside of conventional wisdom in terms of our approach to education at this institution. We want creative people. We want people that are willing to take risks, people that are willing to do things differently than we've ever done them before. Because if we think that we can continue to provide education, and it doesn't make any difference in my estimation, whether it's elementary education, whether it's secondary education, or whether it's associate degree level higher education, or baccalaureate or graduate level education, if we think it's business as usual, then we're not going to be in business, because it's just not business as usual. There are just many, many things that are changing. And probably the one segment of education that's more suspect now than any other segment of education, it's that segment of higher education. I think there's probably more question at the local level, at the state level, at the regional level, and at the federal level about whether or not the taxpayers are getting their worth, that the investment that they provide higher education is really being productive. I think we're suspect in terms of the higher costs that continually are associated with getting a higher education degree, our reluctance to be accountable, our reluctance to follow up sometimes with our graduates and to say that they really are making a difference. So I wanted to just share that with you a little bit this morning as we talk about a number of things, and say that we are very pleased as an institution with the people in this room and also the other faculty and staff that are associated with this institution. But we think that we are putting together that type of faculty and staff that will allow us and lead us toward the 21st century. It's just 9 years. Davis, it's less than 9 years away now, I guess, in terms of the 21st century. It'll be a significant milestone. And we have to have creative people, we have to have innovative people, we have to have people that are willing to take a risk. They don't always have to ask my supervisor or my department head or someone else, should I do this or shouldn't I do it? If it's good for the institution, if it's good for students, if it's good for employers, then let's do it. Let's be about doing it. Let's be willing to get out there on the edge and do those things. And we think you are the kinds of people that represent that. Good ideas are often shot down by those who assume the future is an extension of the past. And the future that we know it, and as we see it emerging, is not an extension of the past. And all you have to look is the last 12 to 15 months. All of the activities that have taken place around the world, and we know for sure that the future is not an extension of the past. It's really very significantly different. Successful past may block the path to a successful future. And you know, in society we have a lot of people that say we've always done it this way, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, we need to learn from what we've done and the successful things that we've done in the past, but we can't continue to do those things that lead us into the future. And finally, those who say it cannot be done should get out of the way of those who are doing it. And we really believe that. We want you to believe that, and we want you to be the driver to make a change. I wanted to talk a little bit about the mission of this institution, and again, there are some additional words that go with the mission in terms of functions that are provided by the state regents for higher education. Mission is something that doesn't change significantly over a long period of time, but we will be and are in the process of revisiting the mission of this institution right now. And we don't see, I don't think we envision any significant changes in the mission, but there may be some fine tuning, and there may be some upgrading, or there may be some minor alterations. But a mission is that guiding principle that says what it is, the direction that we're attempting to go, and the people that we're trying to serve as we fulfill our niche in Oklahoma's institution of higher education. The thing that I would like to say to you about our mission, we made a significant mission change in 1987. This institution was created in 1946 and operated with a mission from 1946 essentially until 1987, when we decided that we needed to make a mission change. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about some of the rationale for that mission change just a little bit later. But the post-secondary or collegiate level advancing technical education, that's what we're about. Now, when we say technical education, I want to make sure that we see and believe that technical education includes the occupational area and the general education, that one is no more important than the other, that they're equally important, that if a student is going to get a good technical education, and if he or she is going to be successful when they leave this institution, they must have that sound, basic understanding and those skills in general education, reading, writing, arithmetic, if you just want to get back to the 3 R's. Those are very, very important. And finally, it's the associate degree that we offer at this institution. Those of you that may not know, our associate degree by and large is a 90 semester hour associate degree. And I think we've probably generally visited with most of you about that. So our associate degree is longer than the typical associate degree offered by most junior community colleges, in that the Associate of Arts by and large at a junior community college is 60 semester hours in length, and Associate of Science is by and large 66 semester hours as a general rule of thumb. Now some of that changes just a little bit. Ours is, most of them are 90 semester hours. We have a few that are less, and I think we have some in automotive, Larry, maybe yours is 105 semester hours long. So, but when we ask for the mission change from the state regents, we ask for a different definition of the Associate of Applied Science degree, because we wanted to fill a different niche than any other post-secondary education institution was fulfilling in Oklahoma's system of higher education. We wanted to be identified continued to be identified as a unique institution and one that was different than others. So our associate degree, approximately, as a general rule of thumb, 2/3 of it is, of the hours that a student takes are in his or her major and related area. And about 1/3 would be in the general education area. Now that's not always true. Sometimes 40% or 45% of the hours that a student takes may be in the general education area. That depends a little bit upon the program of study and how many courses in English or how many courses in mathematics a particular program day. But as a general rule of thumb. Also, when we made the mission change, probably one of the most, well, there were a number of very significant changes. But one was in the area of general education, because before, pre-1987, in my estimation, that our general education would be better described as related education. Instead of having freshman comp 11-13 and freshman comp 13-13, I'm not sure I have the numbers right, we called it written communications and oral communications and something like that. And we also made we made a fairly significant attempt to say that those classes, and the same with mathematics, were trade related. Well, two things, well, a number of things that I think are wrong with that. One is it takes away from the teacher's ability, which in end means the student's ability to be able to do some generalization that they ought to be able to do. It makes the preparation that they have far too narrow. They need to have better broad-based preparation to be able to generalize beyond mathematics for machine shop. If the principles and the concepts are the same, we need to go beyond that. And the other thing, also in 1985, we had that was our North Central evaluation, and the North Central criteria for continued accreditation changed, and it also said that general education must be general, and it must be general in several identifiable ways, and that related education is not general education, and it will not count, it will not continue to count toward continued accreditation. So that was another driving force. The other issue was that while our mission is to prepare students for employment, and most of our students that leave this institution will take employment, but some will transfer and continue their degree. And what are you going to do with written communications if you transfer to a regional university or to a comprehensive university? Because by and large, when the registrar looks at that, if it has X, Y, Z for the number, and it has written communications and some homegrown course description, they can't make it match up with something. So when we made that change in general education with, by and large, not all the institutions, but most of the senior institutions have the same course number, the same course title, and the same course description, and we want our rigor to be the same as they'd get it at any other institution, so that's readily transferable. For those students that transfer, we do not want them penalized, particularly in the area of general education. When you get to technical courses, that's something else. It depends upon the program of study that the student's going to transfer to. Some will count and some won't. You can't take business and office here and transfer to electronic engineering and expect business and office courses to count for it. They'll count as electives, but they're certainly not going to count as part of the degree requirements. But we've made some excellent progress in that. And Friday and Saturday, we had a planning session, and this is just some information I'd share with you. We had a planning session with the OSU Regents, and Bill Cupps, who is President Campbell's, one of President Campbell's assistants, has gone back and looked at the success rate of students that have transferred to OSU Stillwater from two-year institutions. They still call us two-year institution, and we tend not to refer to ourselves as a two-year institution, rather as an associate degree granting institution at 90 semester hours rather than 2 years. But anyway, the point was that we don't have that many students transfer to Stillwater. TJC has something like 1,100, which is a large number. But in terms of academic performance, the students that have transferred from this institution in terms of their academic performance, are scoring second best among all two-year institution students that are transferring to OSU Stillwell. So I'm very pleased with that. And compared to 5 or 6 years ago, when we were probably last in terms of the academic performance. But our students, and he said the curve is going up like this, and I don't see any reason why we can't be at the top of that. That speaks to, I think, the quality of instruction that you're providing those students when they transfer. And that's not the primary goal for students to transfer. The primary goal is going to work. But so we have made some good changes there, and I'm pleased and want to compliment our current faculty for that, and you also as new faculty and staff. And then finally, we set a residential campus. As we're reviewing the mission, some people are questioning whether or not we ought to have a residential campus in our mission. Come out, but we are a residential campus. We can house about 900 students on campus, and I think maybe part of the tour is take a little bit of a look at the residential facilities. I'm not sure it's not. Okay. But for students that come and live on campus, that's a good experience to live on campus, I believe, to establish some independence, to work cooperatively with others, and get yourself up and get to class on time, and those types of things. If you're not looking at the dormitories today, sometime you might want to take a look at them. Because we have as good of housing facilities as any public institution does. It's a constant hassle, obviously, to keep housing facilities in shape, but they are in good shape. And the other nice thing about our housing facilities are paid for. We don't have any outstanding bonded indebtedness on housing facilities, and that's a fairly unusual situation. It's not unique, but fairly unusual. So, but one of the things we've done this summer is that Lackey Hall North, which is the dormitory farthest to the west, we've converted the north wing of that primarily to single rooms instead of double rooms. So we have decreased our overall capacity to house a number of students on campus. The reason we converted, and I see us converting a lot more of our double rooms to single rooms. More and more students are requesting single rooms, and we have to respond to the needs of the customer, and the students are our customer. They want single rooms for several reasons. One is many young people grow up now with their own room. They don't share a room with someone else at home, so they have their own room, so they're accustomed to that. And the other thing is, and those of you that probably have young children now at teenage, is they have a lot of electronic kinds of equipment, stereos and televisions, and I'm not sure what else they have. I'm past that stage, but anyway, they say we get $2,000 or $3,000 worth of stuff and maybe more. We bring it to our room. We don't want a roommate in there messing around with it. We want to take care of it ourselves. So that's why we're doing that. I really do think probably we'll increase our overall occupancy during the next few years and have more single rooms, and they're willing to pay for single room. The issue for a lot of students are the bathroom facilities, because those of you who've been on college campuses and stay in typical traditional dorms know that there are gang showers and gang bathrooms. But we just are not in any position to change that. It would be a monumental kind of change. But one thing that we've done is we've hired a full-time painter about 4 years ago in the dormitories. And the painter, along with students, customize the painting of the dorms. And so she is painting constantly, and they really have come up with some unique floor. The floor gets together, and they paint the halls, and they do some unique decorations. And so that's why I think it'd be worth your time to go through the dorms and see, because they've really done some creative kinds of things. And, that hiring a full-time painter and some work-study students has paid for itself many times over, because you just can't believe the amount of vandalism that has decreased taking place in the dormitory. And that's been a good investment. We have a couple newer facilities over here called Hannigan and England Hall. They look more like two-story motels. I wish all of our dorms were that way, in that they're outside entrances. They can be single or double, but each has its own bathroom and its own study area, and it's outside, no inside halls. Inside halls are one of the biggest pains you have with dormitories. It's all outside halls, students enter from the outside, and they're self-contained. and those are very popular with students. And then over in this direction, we have family housing. We have approximately 45 or 48 units over there in family housing. Some are efficiency apartments and some are one-bedroom apartments. But that's pretty popular. And then right in that area also, we created a child care facility. Well, anyway, I wanted to mention a little bit about mission of the institutional change that we made in '87. We're in the process with an outside consultant looking at that now. And because the state regents, one of the things that the state regents are asking about all the institutions during this year, all the institutions of higher education in the state must look at their mission and refine their mission. The Oklahoma State Regents, by pure comparison, have determined that Oklahoma institutions of higher education are funded approximately 60 cents on the dollar. 60 cents on the dollar. So we have significant underfunding, and what they are saying that the institutions need to get more specific, a more defined mission, eliminate duplication, because we're going to have constrained financial resources in Oklahoma probably for a long period of time. But not only in Oklahoma, but all across the country. 42 states of the 50 states this year, June 30, had a budget deficit. 42 of the 50 states had a budget deficit. California had a $14 billion budget deficit on a mammoth budget. Connecticut was in the worst shape on a $7 billion budget. They had a $2.5 billion deficit. So there are lots of changes, and there's going to be constrained resources for funding for a long time. Although Oklahoma was one of the 8 states that did not have a budget deficit and was showing some growth. And we're optimistic that will continue to have some growth. Now, we're called Oklahoma State.
What do you mean by 60%, funded 60%?
That for the peer institutions that they compare us with in Oklahoma, they have some of the Big 8, some of the Big 10, and some of the Southwest Conference. They have about 10 or 15, I've forgotten the number, that for every dollar they get for a full-time equivalent student in those peer institutions, we have 60 cents. Okay, we have 40 cents more per student. So, okay.
I thought maybe you meant 40% came from tuition and 60%.
No. No, I'm talking in terms of regardless of the mix of funding, where it comes from. If we get, if we have $5,000 per FTE, that's 60% of what the peer institutions would have. They have whatever that would be, 8,200 or something per FTE. In terms of the organizational structure of this campus, we're a branch campus of Oklahoma State University. There are 25 institutions of higher education in the state of Oklahoma. There are more campuses than that, because just use OSU as an example. In the 25, that includes the OSU system. Then there are 3 branch campuses for OSU. There's a branch campus in Oklahoma City, there's a branch campus in Tulsa, the College of Osteopathic Medicine, and the branch campus here. But and then there's a Stillwater campus. But all of that counts as one of the 25 institutions of higher education. Each campus is not counted separately. So when you read in the paper, when the state regents talk about 25 institutions of higher education, they count us as the whole entire OSU system as one unit. Okay, so there are more campuses. TJC, for example, has 3 campuses, but when they talk about Tulsa Junior College, they talk about one unit. So that's you have to keep in mind the number of campuses is different than the number of units that we talk about. So the state regents, they represent the policy-setting board in the state of Oklahoma. And the state regents in Oklahoma have more power probably than any other state regents in the nation. Because most states have, some states don't even have a state board at that level. And most of the states that have a state board, they do not have nearly as much power as the Oklahoma State Regents for higher education. They were given that power in 1941 by a constitutional amendment. and then the OSU Regents, the Regents for Oklahoma State University and the 8 colleges. So our regents oversee Oklahoma State University and also Connor State College at Warner, Northeastern A&M at Miami, Panhandle at let's see, Goodwill, okay, Langston University, and Lawton, Cameron University at Lawton. Get along. So we all fall under the Regents for Oklahoma State University and the A&M colleges, and there are nine members on that Board of Regents. By Constitution, the funding for higher education must be made by the legislature in a lump sum to the Oklahoma State Regents for higher education. The legislature cannot line item appropriate for institutions of higher education. And that's really different than any other state that I know of. In that most states, the legislature makes a line item appropriation for institution X, Y, A, and B. And by Constitution in Oklahoma, it's a lump sum appropriation to the state regents for higher education. So that's what really gives them the power, because those that control the money control a lot of the power. And so it's around $550 million in state appropriations that will be given to the state regents. The way that the state regents choose to do that, then they provide allotments to the institutions. And we're pleased with the way the state regents do that, because one option would be for them to just give the OSU regents one allotment and then say to the regents, you divide it up among the institutions. And there would be Stillwater, there would be the branch campus in Oklahoma City, the branch campus in Tulsa, this campus, veterinary medicine, agriculture extension, and agriculture experiment stations. We have resisted that. We resist the state regents making that allotment in total to the OSU regents, and we think we've been successful, because at one time they were thinking about doing that. But given the emphasis, we're a land grant university, happy to be a part of that. But given the emphasis that our regents have on agriculture, it would be difficult for us to compete with agriculture for those funds. So we don't want a lump sum appropriation to the OSU regents. We want the state regents to divide it up. And that's what they've been doing, and I believe now that they're going to continue to do that. So they make an allotment to Stillwater, to a general university, which covers all the colleges on the main campus. They make an allotment to veterinary medicine, they make an allotment to agriculture experiment stations, they make an allotment to ag extension, to OCOMs in Tulsa, to Oklahoma City, and to us. And we've been pleased with that. Now, I need to say that since 1987, when we made the commission change, we added more rigor to our program. We dropped something like 12 or 15 programs of study. It did cost us some enrollment, but one of the pleas that we made to the state regents at that time was to not decrease our appropriation. Because we said if the direction we're going, we can't afford equipment, we can't afford this, that mediocrity will bubble up through everything. We need to downsize, be more specific, and let us reallocate the dollars. You give us essentially the same dollars and let us reallocate those. And so they've done that. That means today we are the best funded lower division institution in the state. We are the best funded at the lower division level of any institution in the state. And we are very hopeful that we can hang on to that position. We're still not funded when you compare us to some institutions in Michigan and Wisconsin. We're not funded near like they are for technical education. But when you look at all of the lower division funding in Oklahoma, we're the best funded. So that's why at this point it's critical for us to start showing a little bit of growth as credit hours generated on an annual basis, so we can hold that base together. Spend one more time. The other thing that our type of education costs more. We have larger facilities. We have we're much more equipment intensive, and we maintain a lower faculty-student ratio. Our minimum guide from the state regents is that across campus, the faculty-student ratio must be no less than 1 to 12. Now, we'll have classes smaller than that, and we'll have classes larger than that, but the average across campus can't be lower than that. For the junior colleges, I think it's 1 to 18 or 1 to 20, I'm not sure what it is. So it costs us more just because of the way our needs are and the type of education that we offer. But the state regents recognize that to a certain extent. But the other side of the coin is they charge our students more also. We do not set our own enrollment and tuition. The state regents set that. So for this next year, as an example, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but a credit hour charge at the junior community colleges, Tulsa Junior College, Connors, so forth, there are 12 or 13 junior community colleges. Their credit hour charge, I think, is $24.50. And then if they have some student fees on top of that. Our credit hour charge is $36.45. So we're about $10, $12 higher than they are. Now, we tacked on a few fees, so I think our charge this year, total charge per credit hour, student union fee, student activity fee, and assessment fee, is $40.45. And most of the junior colleges are going to come in probably no more than $30 or $31, $32. That gives us a little bit of a problem in recruiting students. Two things do. In that some of our competition will say, why go there? You have to go longer, you have to take 30 more hours, and you have to pay more. But our position needs to be, you get what you pay for. As we recruit students, you get more quality, you get better education, and that few extra bucks is worth it. And that is not the cost, the significant cost. Tuition enrollment fees is not the significant cost of higher education anyway. It's the insignificant cost. Room and board. It doesn't make any difference if you live on campus or you live off campus. That's the cost. But what's the first question parents or students always ask? Or that, well, what's the tuition? And you know, if you're going to TU or if you're going to Harvard, then tuition is an issue. But when you're coming to a public institution, tuition is not the issue. So if you look at $10 a credit hour, difference between a junior community college and us over a 90 semester hours, you're talking about $900. That's not even your room and board for one semester. So, you know, as you talk to prospective students, just be sure and point that out, that tuition, the enrollment fee is an incidental cost, and that the other costs are much more significant. Well, let me see, I'm not going to do. I want to talk just a little bit about this also. The reason I want to talk about this is these are the new entrants that are going to be entering the workforce between 1985 and year 2000. So if these are the new entrants that are going to be entering the workforce, then these people are our students before they enter the workforce, by and large, or they are potentially our students. And this is from the Hudson Institute, and I have another diagram I'll share with you from the Labor Department, which essentially says the same thing. But approximately 25 million new entrants into the workforce between 1985 and year 2000. And probably most of us, when we be asked the question, where are those new entrants going to come from? Who are they? Most of us would probably say, give a traditional response, and the response that would have been, they are the white male. And a large percentage of them were the white male in 1985. But if you look at year 2000, the white male is not a very large percentage of the new entrants into the workforce. It changes significantly. And that will parallel, that must parallel the pattern, the enrollment pattern in institutions of higher education.
Are the numbers down, or do the percentages just change? In other words,
both. The numbers are down because the average family size is down significantly. And the birth rate is not at a level high enough to replace ourselves right now in the United States. So if you look at that 25 million and take it out of the context of the bar chart, the majority of the new entrants into the workforce between 85 and 2000 will be the white female. The white male, that's 42%. Some statistics will show it as much as 44%. The white male, about 15%, non-white male 8%, non-white female 13%, and then the immigrant people that come to this country, 22% between men and women. One is that I think that says a couple things to us, and maybe a lot more. But it says that the changing mix that we're going to continually see of people that are going to participate in higher education. I came here in 1983, essentially 84, December of 84. About 21 to 22% of our head count enrollment at that time was female. And I'm pleased to say that, Steve, you might not want to sit there. If you want to get back here, right? This summer, 41% of our head count enrollment was female. So we've made some significant increases in, it probably won't, I hope it's that high this fall. It probably won't be. It'll probably drop down to maybe more like 33 to 35%. But we need to work very hard to get the enrollment split of 50% male and 50% female if we're going to come close to meeting some of the demands of the workforce, because there are not enough of the traditional white males. There's just no question about it in my mind that when you think about the white female, the 42%, significant increase are going to be entering the workforce, we have to make a number of changes in our support systems as to how these individuals are going to participate in higher education. And that many of them are going to be single mothers with 1 or 2 young children. So the support system and the way that we allow them to get or provide them an opportunity to get their degree must change. Child care, family care, different hours. Some are going to have to work the conventional and traditional approach of classes 8 to 4, and particularly for this institution. I think we're getting out of that, but we just have to throw that paradigm away. So many of them need to participate in evenings and on weekends. And also, we've done the poorest job, by and large, across the United States by just about any measure you look at in elementary and secondary education with the non-white children, both male and female. And so we need to do a better job of providing support systems for them when they enter this institution. Our Afro-American enrollment at this institution pretty well parallels statewide, about 8 or 9%. But I think we can do better and we can increase that. Our Native American Indian population will be above the enrollment head count, will be above what the state average is, but our retention is just really poor for Native American Indians. We graduate very few. Our retention is not good at all. We need to do a better job of support system and modeling and some other things that encourage those individuals to complete degrees. Any other questions on that? The number of women in the workforce that changed then. Just to further emphasize the point, in 1950, about 34% of the workforce consisted of women. In year 2000, they're projecting 62% of the workforce will consist of women. Now, this is a more significant challenge for this institution than many other institutions. And again, I just want to emphasize that's why a number of you people were hired. And I just use diesel and heavy equipment since we have 3 faculty members right here. Diesel and heavy equipment is the mindset. The old paradigm is that women don't belong in diesel and heavy equipment. The wrenches are too damn heavy and they can't move the engines and all of those kinds of reasons, which none of them are valid. None of those reasons are valid. Women can perform just as well in diesel and heavy equipment, in automotive technology, in electronics technology, air conditioning technology, just as well as males. But when we have faculty that have that in their mind and that stereotype that women don't, they might give lip service to it that's okay to have females in there. But when they just give lip service and their behavior doesn't follow their lip service, then females aren't going to stay. And institutionally, we have to make some changes. And I've used Rick's department as an example. We've got 80,000 square feet of space in Diesel. Larger, one department larger than a lot of junior community colleges around the country. But we have one female bathroom hidden in a closet in that facility. You know, we need, those are just some institutional changes that we have to make if we really are serious about recruiting and retaining females in non-traditional careers, because more of our enrollment is in the non-traditional area than it is in the traditional area. So when I talk about support systems, that's just one example of ways that we need to change at this institution to respond to that. The other issue that's a serious issue, a pervasive issue, is the recruitment of faculty that look different to a certain extent than many of you. We need a Diesel female faculty instructor. We need a female faculty instructor in electronics. We need one in engineering graphics. We need one in air conditioning. We just have not been successful. And you know, we try pretty hard, but obviously we aren't trying hard enough, or we don't know the right kinds of strategies. And we need more minority faculty members, Afro-American and Native American Indian, because we need role models. And we just, it's a challenge for all institutions. But by the same token, all of you can help us with that. You have a responsibility to help us with that. You have a responsibility to help us, and I hope you will take that responsibility seriously. Well, I'm just about out of time on that. Let me cut short here. Just do 2 or 3 things. Through some planning sessions that we've been going through with some of our own faculty and staff, and also with an outside consultant, and we have had some interaction with President Campbell, with Roy Peters, the State Director of Vocational and Technical Education, and Gary Smith, Executive Vice Chancellor for the State Regents. These are some issues that we are identifying perhaps as opportunities for us. And I've kind of alluded to the first one, to significantly expand our continuing education program, particularly as it relates to evening classes and weekend classes, non-traditional types that we offer. We are continuing, because our philosophy had been for a long time, we open the doors at 8 and we close them at 4, and the students can't come. That's when we were in the business of order taking in higher education. And you didn't have to be very responsive. And higher education really got into that mindset, except for the metropolitan junior community colleges, because they were founded under a different philosophy. And we're not going to serve thousands in continuing education, but we have a population base of 40 to 45,000 in this county. There's no reason that we don't serve 2,000 or 3,000 people in continuing education, degree seeking. So what if it takes them 6 years to get an accounting degree? Who cares if they can work it in 6 hours at a time over that period of time? We need to develop, and we'll talk more about this, a new covenant with business and industry. Business and industry is ready to do this. We've developed more business and industry partnerships the last 18 months than we have the last 18 years, because they are really concerned about where are we going to get skilled people. And they're recognizing that they have to be a partner with us and help us recruit, help us fund this education, pay for the education that students have. We need to do a better job of institutional marketing. 10 years ago, if you talked about marketing institutions of higher education, that was considered a dirty word. You just didn't market in higher education, or in public higher education. You didn't take taxpayers' dollars and market. Proprietary institutions and private institutions, you know, they do that a long time ago, and have not. But that was just a no-no for us to use public tax dollars, and we're doing that. We need to do a lot more of that. Improve services to the at-risk student. And my belief is that the at-risk student is probably at least 50% of the students that are participating in all of higher education. I think it's at least 50% of all of the students. We used to think it was that student that came from the metropolitan area, the disadvantaged area, but it's not. It's the rural student, it's the single mother, it's the single father with 1 or 2 children. I believe it's a broad definition of people that are at risk. We become more responsive to the non-traditional students, and again, the evening, the weekend, early morning, 5:30 in the morning, the brown bag. Also, one opportunity we want to explore, and I just want to say, if you saw the headline in the Tulsa paper, it overstated it, but we want to explore the Bachelor of Technology degree. We think there's a place for that in the Oklahoma State system for higher education. It's not short term. I can tell you that's going to be a 5 to 7 year process for us, but we have it on the table with the state region staff and with the president and some other people. Some people say, well, you can't get it done, and some other people, and well, maybe. Well, I think you can do about whatever you want to do if you have persistence and do your homework.
Is that already available for a certain number of career programs?
Well, we really don't know, but here tentatively, the way that I would think about that, Mary, is that it would be a general Bachelor of Technology degree, and that a student could go through any program of study here, and if they had a certain grade point average or something, then, and again, I'm just talking at a very preliminary stage, that we would offer professional courses on top of that, and then the student it might come through automotive, it might come through graphic design, or it may come through data processing, and we finish that up, but don't know for sure. Some of the barriers that we know that we're working with: constrained financial resources, and they're going to be with us for a long period of time. There's just no question. Oil is not going back to $40 a barrel. I just don't think, and not for a long period of time. Oklahoma's diversifying, and one of the exciting things about diversification of the economy in Oklahoma and northeast Oklahoma is aviation and aerospace. And while you might define that in terms of aviation and aerospace, that has monumental implications in terms of, because American Airlines is a city of 12,000, 13,000 people out there. So, while the primary work relates to aviation and aerospace, you have to feed those people, they have to have data processing, you have to have manufacturing parts, you have to have graphic design, you have to have all kinds of mechanics. And so as we expand that has implications for everything that we do at this institution. And so if Oklahoma could land Delta Douglas or United Airlines, just one of them, so it would be really significant. But if they don't, it's still significant. In the greater Tulsa area right now, there are 400 manufacturers in the aviation and aerospace business, and that's continuing to grow. Right now, 400 that have been identified. Our geographic location, I don't know whether it's a barrier or not. In one way, if we were closer to Tulsa, it would be easier to commute, but in another way, there's something to be said, and I think we can market it in a positive way, a more rural community. But some people see geographic location as a barrier, and I just think we have to work around it. Competition for traditional college-age students continuing to grow. Private schools, proprietary schools. Who is the biggest provider of post-secondary education in the state of Oklahoma now? Who is the biggest provider in terms of head count? Pardon? In terms of a total agency, who's the biggest provider? Say it louder. VOTEC. Created in 1965, VOTEC serves a larger head count than any other system of post-secondary education in the state of Oklahoma. That served 330,000 people in post-secondary education last year. And we've had higher education since December 25, 1890. OSU and OU and Central State were created. And we talk about serving 140,000 people in higher education and 150,000 record enrollments. But since 1965, VOTEC has been the biggest provider of post-secondary education in terms of head count. I'm not saying anything about duration of training or anything else, just in terms of head count. So competition. They provide short-term courses. They also provide some 2-year full-time programs in a number of different areas, and particularly in the health area, and they're offering more and more in the health area, but in some of the others. New initiatives that we want to, aviation education, and aviation education, the avionics program that we have added. We think that is a good addition for our program of study here, and hopefully over time we might be able to add some other aviation related education programs. There's a vote that has been taken in Okmulgee County to establish an area vocational technical school, and they will elect the board on October 29th. And our hope is that when that board moves ahead with that area vocational technical school, that they will ask us to ask the OSU Regents to locate that particular institution on this campus. And so through cooperative enrollment agreements and articulation, we think that will be a positive for us. Now, if it's located at 10 miles away, it wouldn't be, but hopefully that will be located on this campus. And just as an example, that I see it as positive, is that we would like to have an aviation, an A&P program, airframe and power plant. Probably costs $800,000 to start an A&P program. I already told you we have constrained financial resources, and we're probably not going to get any better than 60 cents on the dollar and all that. But if VOTEC here on this campus would fund an A&P program, make it a high priority, they could do it. We could help them, and we could recruit statewide for A&P mechanics, develop a cooperative enrollment agreement with them, and then let them take their general education courses with us, and then get an associate of applied science from this institution with a major in A&P. And I think it would be good for the local area vocational technical school. It serves a lot of people from this area. We could also recruit students statewide. It would be good for us in terms of we could offer the associate applied science. Probably the easiest and the quickest way, Rick, for us to get an A&P program. Cooperative enrollment agreements. This is dual enrollment of adults between the area vocational technical schools and us. Human resource development. We just must do a lot more with human resource development. And I'm talking about the classified people at this institution, the faculty, and the staff. Continuous in service, sponsoring you to go to seminars, workshops, bringing people on campus. We must make much more. Over the next 3 to 5 years, we plan to create 20 $50,000 endowed lectureships. And we feel confident that we can do that. When we built this student union and private funds from this area, we raised about $1.4 million. Most of the people that were contributing to that have their commitment paid off. So we don't want them to get out of the habit of paying us something. So we're going back with asking for endowed lectureships. Now, if we raise $50,000, if any one of you, Davis, if you want to write a check for $50,000, we can go to the state regents and they'll match that with $50,000. So we have a $100,000 endowed lectureship then. And then what we use is the interest off of that. And the interest we get is 6%. And so we have $6,000 to provide faculty to do some maybe applied research or to do some travel or to bring in speakers or to sponsor workshops. That's what that's for. But we think over the next 3 to 5 years. We have one now. Hopefully today we're going to get a second one, and we're working on a third one. And in fact, we're working on a fourth one in Houston right now. So we may have 4 just very shortly. And the thing is to get that nucleus of 3 or 4, because then that gives you that leverage you need to go, because some people just don't want to be outdone. And we think it's very feasible for us to do that.
Would you define lectureship?
Pardon?
Would you define lectureship?
Well, the state regents set up what they call lectureship, professorship, and an endowed chair. The lectureship is that, and all of them are endowed. And so every private dollar we get $1 of state money from the state regents. And we take the interest off of that because you can't spend the corpus. And we can use that, Larry, to, as I said, to bring in speakers, to pay for speakers, or we can use that to send you, say a Ford Motor Company wanted to give one to you. Then that $6,000, we can use that to send you to workshops or seminars, or you can hire speakers to come in, or any multitude of things that relates to professional development. That's what it's for, and the area is up to the donor, how they want to specify. We're trying to get most of them to have it not specified to any one area. Then finally, a better understanding of the at-risk student. Well, I think I better. No, one thing I must say just about a lot little bit about institutional assessment. Institutional assessment is new in higher education during the last couple of years. The North Central Association, does everyone know what North Central is? I mean, it's our accreditation agency. This sentence right here begins, the Commission wants to make clear that all institutions are expected to assess achievement of their students. And there are many significant implications with that statement that we haven't had to do before. We've done it to a limited extent, but we must document it by, is it 1995, Linda? We must have an approved plan on file with the North Central Accreditation Agency saying this is how we're going to document the achievement of our students. So we have an Office of Institutional Assessment, and Joan Reynolds is the coordinator of that office. Institutional assessment will only be successful particularly as we have significant and extensive faculty involved. All the faculty will have to be involved in that. And there are many things that we will deal with in institutional assessment. The ones that we're starting with is recruitment of students, entrance assessment. We're purchasing a computerized adaptive entrance assessment system this fall. It will be in place in January. All students will participate in that in the English and mathematics area. We hope to expand that to some other areas, and the students must be placed accordingly. Finally, our admissions process, we want to assess their academic experience, social experience. Then we said exit here. The other thing the state regents August 16th, last Friday, approved was that there must be a midterm assessment. After a student's completed approximately 30 hours, we must assess their general education skills and see if they're making satisfactory progress. And then finally, track the student once he or she leaves the institution. Well, I'm way past the time that I was supposed to have. And I didn't finish, so, but I will quit. I just want to say that we are very pleased to have you. And I want to emphasize that we hired you for some very specific reasons. And those reasons are that we perceive you to be innovative, we perceive you to be creative, we perceive you to be exceptional in your professional field, and that you're willing to take risks. And we want to make sure that from my perspective that we support you in that way. And that don't be afraid to make a mistake, because we all make mistakes. It's just that we want to learn from those mistakes and then implement corrective action that ends up doing a better job for students. Probably the most significant challenge that all of us have is retention. Identifying the skills of those students that we have, making sure that we get those students placed in that academic environment which is right for the skills that they have. Because by and large, I believe in Benjamin Bloom, mastery of learning concept, and that students can master concepts if we get them in the right environment and then provide them with the right support system to learn. So retention is a key factor. It is a significant investment to recruit new students, and if we lose 30, 40, 50% of them, we're doing that over and over again. The way that we can have enrollment growth at this institution is by improving the quality of the experience that the students have and then retaining those students. I'd rather recruit 800 to 900 quality students in the fall term and retain a significant percentage of them as to recruit 1,300 new students and lose 60% of them. Because it's a waste of their time, it's a waste of our time, and we don't do the best job that we could by the students that we do retain. So all of you are part of that recruitment, and all of you are part of that retention. Again, we're very pleased to have you, and we have an open door policy in all the offices around here. All you do is just have to walk in and say, these are some things you need to think about. You ought to be thinking about it, what we need to do, what we need to change, and encourage you to do. Okay, thank you very much. Well, any last questions? I was wanting to have more questions, but I talked too much.
couple minutes, good news, bad news. So I said we have to be a little bit flexible with the schedule. You never know some of the changes. The good news is you're within about a minute of break time. The bad news is there was a typographical error and you really weren't going to get 30 minutes anyway. My secretary left me out and I had 15 minutes in here and it's gone. But what I'd suggest right now is I'd like to go ahead and take a break. It's just about 9:15. Be back at least before 9:30. Tom Dooley is already here for the 9:30 presentation. The one thing that I really want to get worked in, and I will get worked in at some point or another, is I'd like some good introductions and let you get to know each other. But we've been here a couple hours, so let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back 9:30 or soon. And I know it's a little, at least you've got name tags, but it helps kind of know a little bit about who all's in here. I thought I might just go through the list and not as roll call, but just kind of keep things moving.
Sure.
Okay, Larry Hahn, Automotive Department. Larry, why don't you, obviously your belt buckle says Ford, but tell them very briefly what you do.
Okay, I have been here a little more than a year. I came on a year ago in June, but every time I turn around, there's something about the campus that I don't quite understand or what's going on, or where it's at. Finding out something new every day. So I thought, given the opportunity, that I'd take advantage to find out much more about this campus.
Get to know each other a little better.
Well, good morning and welcome. Some of you are not strangers, some of you are strangers, and some of you are just strangers. It is my distinct pleasure to attempt to enlighten you on the business and finance aspects of our campus operation. And we are, as many of you know, or maybe all of you know, a non-profit, not-for-profit, publicly supported institution of higher education. We obviously have the academic and the instructional component as our most important part of the campus operation, but we feel like those components could not exist in a healthy environment unless the business and finance area serves the education component in a quality way. My areas of responsibility primarily offer services to students, faculty and staff, and other campus departments. I'd like to take a few minutes and just tell you about those areas that report up through me. Personnel services, which all of you are aware of our personnel services operation, has 3 employees, is located in the administration building, is supervised by our personnel director, Sharon Borcher. Personnel services has the traditional personnel service responsibilities, payroll, fringe benefit administration, absence and leave administration, and just anything that goes along with hiring and keeping you on the payroll and being sure that you get paid the right amount at the right time. But you don't complain about your pay. The accounting services area also made up of 3 employees headed by Margaret Dalton. Pretty traditional accounting services for the rest of the campus operation. Tracks our revenue and expenditures, offers the departments a monthly budget status report, tells the department head or supervisor where they are in their financial operation of their department. Purchasing and central stores, headed by Tim Morris, new to our campus, not new to the system. Tim has 4 employees basically that work with him in the purchasing and central stores operation, and we charge him with the responsibility to administer our purchasing operation, trying to stay in adherence with state and board policy when it comes to purchasing, the expenditures of funds to obtain goods and services and equipment, and a timely payment to the vendor. All comes under the heading of Ken's operation there. In addition to the purchasing operation, we have a couple of other entities that report up to Ken. One is our mail service operation. We operate a contract U.S. Postal Station right down the hall in this building. That operation offers the typical U.S. Postal services. In addition to that, we offer a campus mail delivery service, mail messenger service, making 3 runs on campus a day, delivering campus mail to all the departments on campus. Our campus motor pool reports to Ken. We have 1 employee down there, plus some work study and other student help. We charge that operation with maintaining our fleet of sedans and trucks and specialty vehicles. Those vehicles are available for your rental or lease when you find the need to go off campus to other cities or other states. Also, the Administrative Records Center, which we have 1 employee in that operation. It is basically a centralized microfilming operation for records retention, and that, of course, can also. Our bursar's office, for those of you unfamiliar with the term, is sort of like the treasurer or the cashier for the institution. We charge those 5 employees headed by Georgiana Barlow, who is our bursar, with collecting and maintaining records and collecting student and employee accounts for the institution. The student accounts pretty much self-explanatory. The individual charges tuition, room board, books, whatever, and then we attempt to collect money. We hope we collect money. The employee side, we do offer a service on campus whereby the employee has the ability to charge certain goods or services. For example, the bookstore or our automotive technology area, where they take in some live work. And if you need your vehicle repaired, you can put the vehicle in the automotive shops, have the work done, new water pump, whatever it is, and charge that expense up through the bursar's office. We generate a monthly statement, and we anticipate that when you receive the statement, the amount is due payable at that time. So that's more or less the responsibilities of the bursar's office. The communications center, 2 employees headed by Freed Daniels, includes our campus telephone service and a campus 2-way radio system that is used by our campus police and our physical plant employees. The campus bookstore consists of 3 full-time employees and some part-time student help, headed by Nelson Reeder, located in this building, typical college bookstore. In addition to the bookstore, Nelson supervises campus vending services. You see vending machines scattered around the campus, and we own and operate our own vending services. We have 3 employees in that area, and rather than contracted out, we do own the machines. Our physical plant operation is the largest area that reports up through me. There are 49 employees headed by Charles Bramel, the coordinator of physical plant operations. His responsibilities include maintenance of buildings and grounds, custodial services on campus, offering utilities, providing utilities for all areas on campus. Obviously, a large responsibility, a fair amount of money spent trying to keep the facilities in as good a shape as we can, and renovating facilities seems like daily. I'm not sure, but and last but not least, the budget preparation for the campus and the monitoring of the budget is pretty much an ongoing annual event that I have responsibility for. We are a branch campus in the OSU system, obviously, and because we're a branch campus, many of our business and financial services are in fact provided by the main campus systems and personnel. Think of it maybe as a corporate headquarters, in this case in Stillwater, with a branch office here in Okmulgee as far as our business services go. Specifically, services that we retain from the main campus include personnel, purchasing, accounting, budget, internal audit, and a few others. The main campus folks, in concert with the people on my staff, provide, the main campus folks provide primarily the computer and data service for us, as well as process payrolls, process vendor payment claims, and so forth. I want to talk a little bit about budgets, just maybe to enlighten you in that area. And there are really three different types of budgets that I want to spend some time talking about. There is our education and general budget. We have an auxiliary enterprises budget, and we have a student aid budget, student financial aid budget. I'm going to talk about them in kind of reverse order in size. Talk for a minute about the student financial aid budget. The student financial aid operation consists of grants, loans, scholarships, college work-study program for students, approximately $2.6 million in the current fiscal year, and is made up of a combination of some federal monies, some state monies, and some private source monies. And Dr. Williams is on the program after myself. That operation reports up through him, and I'm sure he's going to tell you more about the student financial aid office and operation. Talk next about the auxiliary enterprise budgets, the auxiliary enterprise operations. These operations consist of the residence halls, the dining services, dining facilities on campus, our campus bookstore, and our campus vending services. We have a child care or daycare center, and the building in which we are currently housed, the student union. Those entities make up our auxiliary enterprise operations. The total budget this year for those operations is around $4 million. Now, in addition to those that I mentioned, we have a couple of other operations on campus that are very similar to the auxiliary enterprises, but they're just a little bit different. And they would consist of our motor pool operation, our central warehouse, and campus printing services. We refer to those three areas as stores and service operations. We make a little bit of a distinction between them and the residence halls and the others I mentioned as pure auxiliary enterprises. Well, what is an auxiliary enterprise? Well, as the name implies, it is auxiliary to our primary purpose. It exists to support the other operations on campus. These units that I've mentioned must generate their revenue through sales of goods and services. These units must operate almost as, or do operate as, private business operates. They do not receive an allocation of state tax funds or tuition revenue to maintain their ongoing operation. So they have to generate enough revenue through sales and services to be an ongoing concern. As such, they have to generate enough revenue to pay the bills in their daily operation, pay the salaries, cost of goods sold, and utilities, rent, and other sorts of things. But they also have to generate enough revenue to, from time to time, offer them the ability to replace some equipment, to do some renovation of their facility or wherever they're housed, and in addition to take care of maybe some major repair and placement needs. And an example might be in a residence hall system. If we need a new roof on one of the residence halls, we have to take the funds for that roof out of the residence hall account. So by assessing fees, by assessing rent to the students, we have to collect enough rent to keep the business going as an ongoing concern, but also have to have enough to put on a new roof whenever we need one, or buy a new chiller, or whatever we have to do. These auxiliary enterprise operations and stores and service operations exist to serve the faculty, staff, and students. And I think that goes without saying. Because they operate as a business, the factors that would declare how well they are doing as a business are the ones you would think of. if they offer a good service, and if the people come and use that service, they're gonna do okay. If enrollment is bad, if we don't retain the students, we don't attract the students, if enrollment's down, obviously we're gonna collect less rent in the residence halls, we're gonna collect less revenue in the food service operation, and that has a big impact on the quality of that particular operation. So we try to manage those units as businesses. Some years business is better than other years. The third budget that I want to talk about is our primary budget, our education and general operating budget. It is the main operating budget for the campus. And if you think about the units that I mentioned, residence halls, dining halls, bookstore, venue, and so forth, think of everything else on the campus that would fall under the education and general operating budget. The primary sources of funds for the education and general budget are legislative appropriation through the state legislature and the higher regions, and tuition and fees. Those are the two primary sources. Our education and general operating budget in the current fiscal year, and by the way, our fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30, is $13.6 million. $11.1 million of that we received this year from the legislature, from the tax revenues. The balance, that's 82%. The balance, 18%, or about $2.5 million, we will collect from fees, tuition, and other sources of miscellaneous revolving income, like library fines, parking fines, and that sort of thing. Might talk a minute about the funding process. How is it that we actually get this money? Well, tuition and fees, it's pretty obvious how we get the money. Student enrolls, we put a charge in their account, we collect the money. That revenue is based on a projection of credit hours generated, obviously. And so if we hit the mark, then we make the budget, the revenue budget for tuition and fees. If we fall short, then we have a budget shortfall that we have to deal with. The state tax dollars come to us from the state legislature annually through the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. And I'm assuming that the director talked to you a little bit about the two boards, the OSU Governing Board and the State Regents Coordinating Board. State Regents have the charge in Oklahoma to provide and allocate the funds to publicly supported colleges and universities. So it's the State Regents that determine individual allocations to colleges and universities. The legislature appropriates a lump sum for higher education to the state regents. Then it's the state regents' responsibility to cut the pie. Say, OU gets this, OSU gets that, NSU gets this, Oklahoma gets that. So that's a pretty awesome responsibility that the state regents have. That process happens late spring every year, around the close of the legislative session, which by law now is at the end of May. And so we typically are scrambling in the month of June to finalize our budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The state regents also have the responsibility, in addition to determining the allocation for each college and university, of setting the tuition and fee level for all the colleges in the state. They typically set it and cannot set it any higher than a legislative ceiling. So when we seek a tuition increase, we must go to the state regents, but we also have to go to the legislature to get their approval also. As I said before, the dollars that we collect from tuition and fees goes into general E&G budget support. We give a fair number of fee waiver scholarships. I thought I'd just mention that to this group to tell you that those students that receive a fee waiver scholarship from us to attend the institution, the way that works is pretty simple. We just forgive their fees. And that's revenue that typically we would be collecting and putting into the bank but it's revenue that we are foregoing to provide them the Big Waiver Scholarship. And we budget a certain amount in every year to make allowance for that. There is a limit set by the state regents, and I believe it was 3% of our EMG budget for the current year. The education and general budget for the college funds the typical operating expenses, salaries and wages, fringe benefits, equipment, supplies, utilities, travel, the typical things that it takes to keep the place running. Equipment for our institution is a fairly large component of our E&G budget. We are a different kind of institution, obviously, than a junior community college. We are equipment intensive, and therefore a much higher percentage of our E&G budget goes for instructional equipment than it would at PJC or Oklahoma City Community College and so forth. If I turn for a minute then and talk about something that from time to time comes up as an issue, and that is insurance and liability coverage, liability issues as an employee. What is, you might ask, what is your vulnerability as an employee to things like lawsuits or claims against you made by students or others? The university is self-insured for this purpose through the Office of Public Affairs and the Office of State Risk Management. And rather than give you a lot of details, I'm just going to read the university policy regarding liability insurance. It says employees of Oklahoma State University are insured against claims by third parties for bodily injury, property damage, and personal injury. This coverage is provided under the provisions of the Governmental Tort Claims Act passed by the 1984 Oklahoma Legislature. The Risk Management Division of the State Office of Public Affairs is responsible for administering the program. The Governmental Tort Claims Act makes it possible to file a claim against the state of Oklahoma for damages under certain conditions. The Act limits the amounts recoverable by the claimant. The total liability of the state on a given claim is as follows. Bodily injury, $100,000 per person. Property damage, $25,000 per person. And $1 million aggregate for a number of claims arising out of one single occurrence or one single event. The purpose of the Governmental Tort Claims Act is to provide protection against suit or claim for full-time and part-time employees while acting within the scope of their employment. The scope of employment is defined in the Act as follows. This is a quote. Performance by any employee acting in good faith with the duties of his office or employment or tasks lawfully assigned by a competent authority that shall not include corruption or fraud. End quote. Under the provisions of the Act, the state agency will be named as the defendant in the claim rather than the employee if the employee was acting in the scope of his or her employment. End of statement. So, I think the main point here being there is liability coverage offered as a result of our employment here, provided the act or acts for which we may be sued, and it does happen occasionally, that you were acting within the scope of your employment. Maybe that's enough about that. Talk for a minute about something near and dear to all of our hearts, and that's the payroll. When do we get paid, and how, and all that stuff. Again, for those of you that have been here for a while, you obviously know how you get paid. For those of you whose first day it is, maybe this will be more helpful. We have really two different types of payrolls on campus. We have those individuals that are paid on the monthly salary payroll, and we have those individuals that are paid bi-weekly. Bi-weekly means every other Friday. Every other Friday, those people get a paycheck. Typically, the people that are paid bi-weekly are paid so much an hour, an hourly rate. And the monthly people are paid a monthly salary. We offer, and I want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to take advantage of our direct deposit payroll receipt to your personal bank account or savings institution. This direct deposit, in lieu of our giving you a payroll check, is made by a tape transfer directly from the state finance office to your financial institution. It works slick. We have not had any problems. It's a relatively new program for the state. We've not had any problems with it, and it is really a good deal you should take advantage of. Typically, for those people paid monthly, we pay on the first day of the month following the month of service. So for the service you provided the institution in August, we would pay you on September the 1st. If you have direct deposit, that money is typically in your checking account on the last day of the month, last day of August in this case. You're on bi-weekly payroll, it would be on that Friday. And I think typically it's going in the account on Thursday night, frankly. Direct deposit offers you the ability to be off campus for whatever reason, whether you're on annual leave or you're ill or you're on a business trip, and not have to worry about your paycheck getting into your account. So it's really a good deal. There's no hassle to it, and I want to encourage every one of you to take advantage of the direct deposit method of receiving your payroll. I think at this time I'm going to pause and be bold enough to ask if anybody has any questions that they think I might be able to respond to, only regarding my area. Nothing comes to mind? Okay. Well, if there are no questions, let me say in conclusion that I want to be sure and offer my services to you. If there's anything that you think I can ever do to help you, the door is always open. Pick up the phone, whatever. And I want to thank you for your attentiveness. I don't think many of you were sleeping. Maybe none of you were sleeping. And on behalf of all employees in the business and finance area, we'll take this opportunity to welcome you to the campus and hope your stay is good.
Thank you, Tom. As you can see, sometimes with this flexibility, we add a little bit or we lose a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do a few things. Look at your agendas. I might take a couple of minutes before break to point out the changes which we will have that we know of right now. When we finally, the last day or two, had our system defined and realized that we'd be meeting in here and that lunch is next door in the next section in the citizens room, and we started revising the schedule, sometimes one line gets at the wrong place. The video is set up in the next room, and so during lunch, about 12:15, maybe 12:10 or something, we actually will start the video in the other room. When we break for lunch here, feel free to leave your materials here. We'll just be next door. And then at the 12:30 presentation by personnel, we will leave the dirty dishes and trays and walk back over here, and that should work very well. A couple of other things. At 2:15 today, Wayne Clark, who is our instructional technologist, has been ill the last couple of weeks, and we will tour you through the area, and we will explain some of the different processes and procedures that will go on. But as far as the demonstration, the interactive video or the CD-ROM units or the scanning of the barcode reader to bring up certain frames in the biology interactive video session, we will not do that kind of a demonstration. That's one of the things that those of you that have been on campus hopefully have seen. Regardless, every one of you will have an opportunity to see it at a later date. We are working more and more with instructional technology as it can improve instruction within the different programs and departments, and so we will catch up on that. Just as Tom offered an opportunity for you to ask questions, Larry had a couple of questions of the director earlier this morning. I've built in a question and answer session at the end, but at any time, please feel that this is informal enough that you can just stop right then and say, wait, now, what do you mean? Because sometimes if we don't ask the question when we need to, we're busy worrying about the question instead of, because you don't understand how it relates. So stop us at any time. One of the things that is happening on our campus, and Bob mentioned just a little bit about it, but we're involved very heavily in developing a strategic plan, and we have an international consultant working with us from time to time. Several weeks ago, we had a planning session, and it just happened. You know, sometimes you never know why you schedule things on certain days. But he is back on campus today, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday morning. And I have mentioned to some of you, but where originally your agenda may have shown that we had day 3 on Friday on effective teaching for the faculty, that has been postponed, and we will reschedule again in 2 or 3 weeks on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And that's part of what we're talking about, the ongoing professional development, human resource development, in service, those types of commitments that we need to just make better use of. As we have lunch today, where I planned that a number of us would be involved in the same lunch, it turns out some of us are going to be even in the third next door over, and we're going to be meeting with Dr. Taylor and getting some game plans lined up. And so if you see us playing musical chairs or musical rooms, no, we don't have 2 trays. We're not going to eat double, but we will be back and forth. But the advantage of having Dr. Taylor on campus at the same time that this is going on is that we've had an opportunity to involve him with your group and let you meet him. On Tuesday, on page 2, at 9:45, I'm scheduled to go to lunchtime on almost everything else you need to know about campus and et cetera. You know, sort of I've got some things to comment about, and you may have some questions by then to ask. But at 11 o'clock, we're going to insert Dr. Taylor at that time. Dr. Taylor will join us about 11 o'clock in the Noble Center. And just bring you a little bit up to date as to what he sees and what we've been doing. Mostly have a chance just to meet him. Of course, we will come back here for the afternoon. Okay, at this time, let's go ahead and, I didn't know how long this would be. Maybe I should have just worked in one medium break in the middle instead of a couple of short ones, but sometimes it helps attention spans because you get out and move around. So, again, Larry Williams is on for 10:30, and it's almost 15 after, so take about 10-15 minute break. Make sure you're back on time so we can try to stay on time.
Williams, the other campus assistant director, and appreciate the opportunity to be with you today and talk with you about the areas of responsibilities that I have and the administrative area that I'm responsible for, and visit with you about several things that relate to the campus. One of the things I'd like to do is to encourage any of you as we're going through particular topics or over particular items. If you have questions or if you would like clarification, just yell time out or ask something, and I'll slow down and try to address the specific questions that you might have. You know, Alex Haley, who has roots back to the city of Okmulgee, and also a well-known national author and lecturer, makes the comment that anytime that you're going down the road and you see a turtle on the fence post, says you know that 2 things happen. One is that turtle didn't get there by himself, and 2, that he's not going to stay there long without a lot of support and help. And I think that's pretty descriptive of all of us, is all of us are rather dependent on the individuals that we work with and the students that we have in our class and the staff members that we rely on support from the various offices. And indeed, it's very, very important for all of us to be a part of the university team to be able to accomplish the missions and goals that we have for OSU Okmulgee. Now, OSU Okmulgee is a little more diverse institution than many people realize. We are seen by outside publics as being a 2-year institution, when in essence, we're probably more of a 3-year institution. We award an associate degree. We operate on a 3 full semester a year system, which is a little unusual. And all of our degree programs are 90+ semester credit hours, which all of you who are conventional, who have worked in more conventional academic programs know that that is equivalent to about 3 years of completion on a baccalaureate program. So ours are a little different. In being a little different, we have to be very, very concerned about the quality of academic programs and what's there for the student. Why should they invest an additional year on our particular campus? We have to be very, very concerned with the social justice of the campus and the residential life and the enhancement of opportunities that we have on campus and how we involve students in other than academic programs and attending your particular classes or providing services out of our particular offices. And we have to be concerned with that quality added value. If that student's going to come here, and if they're an Oklahoma resident, and they're going to pay $600 a semester to sit in your particular classes or to take advantage of the services in our particular offices, what quality are we adding to those individuals that warrants that investment of that $600 a semester just for enrollment fees for an in-state student? If we're talking about an out-of-state student, we're talking about an individual who's going to invest close to $2,000 a semester for enrollment fees and tuition to participate in the activities that you're going to be providing and that we're going to be providing. And what's that student getting back for that particular investment? Now, all of us, if we kind of look at each other and I say, hey, I want you to go down tomorrow and spend $2,000 on something, you're probably going to want to know a little bit about it. You're going to want to know, what am I going to get for my money? Is it going to be a good investment for me? And what's going to be the long-range payoff? And those are some of the things that we're concerned with our students doing. It's very, very easy to see the academic programs. A student enrolls in Rick's department, in Diesel, they have that career focus that they're looking toward. It's a little different selling point for us sometimes in our general education courses and general studies courses to convince that student how that's an integral part of their academic program. And how indeed the reading, the writing, the mathematic calculations, the firm foundation in the general studies is just as important to that student as the major technical knowledge is. And so it's important for all of us to be able to understand that value added that we need to give to that particular student. We in student services are dependent on everyone on campus, and to kind of highlight the activities that fall under my area of responsibility and then go back and give you a little bit of additional information with each one of them. Our particular office is responsible for coordinating faculty advisement. We handle all of the student appeals processes that relate to dissatisfaction of a student, whether it be with a faculty member in a particular course or whether it be a staff member in a particular service with an office. We have the Student Government Association, which is representative of our student body. We have our student disciplinary processes at the registrar's office, the housing, campus police, the infirmary, the child care center, counseling services, scholarship programs, short-term loan programs, student financial aids, student life and student activities, agency students, admissions, and high school and college relations. Kind of give you a thumbnail sketch of what all of these are, and there again, questions come up anytime, why interrupt me and we'll talk a little bit more about one of them or more of them, more information about a particular area. We'll start in reverse and talk about high school and college relations. How do our students get here? From a recruitment effort, our particular institution has 3 full-time staff members who work what we call high school and college relations or recruitment. The traditional academic school year is 180 days. In 180 days, we will visit somewhere between 550 and 600 public schools. We'll visit virtually every public school in the state of Oklahoma. We visit most of the public schools that fall along the western border of the state of Arkansas. We visit southwestern Missouri. southern Kansas, and northeastern Texas as far as recruitment activities. We will talk to somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 8,000 to 10,000 students a year about opportunities at this particular institution, and hopefully light a spark in those particular individuals that will make them want to come on here and attend this institution as their choice of a higher education institution. Those particular students in high school and college relations, with the change in the admissions criteria at the institution, we say that it's very, very important that those students take their ACT tests as soon as possible, that they complete all of the curricular requirements that are required for students graduating out of high school now. 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 of science, 2 of history, 1 of which must be an American history. Those students also, if they're interested in drawing federally based student financial aids, need to fill out their financial aids application as soon as possible to be considered for student financial aids. Then beyond that, our recruiters are basically concerned with trying to light that spark that's going to encourage that student to come to campus and visit. And we feel that that is a real selling point as far as students coming onto our institution. Of all the visitors that we have that visit our particular campus, one of the most frequent things that we hear is that the people are very, very friendly, that the faculty members are very, very concerned, that they're genuine. You can sit down and talk with them. They'll take time out to explain to prospective students what's involved in their particular courses and curriculum. And when we have them here on campus, then we hope to start the follow-up as far as the closing of that particular sales contract, and we want them to make application for admissions. With our admissions process, and we start 3 full semesters a year, that means new students each year. We will need somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,600 students per year to maintain enrollment. And we're talking about a fall enrollment of 2,200 to 2,400, a spring enrollment hopefully somewhere around 2,000, summer enrollment of somewhere around 1,600. Since we have 3 full semesters a year and have a high turnaround rate for those students who go straight through their academic program, to give you a comparison, Oklahoma State University, our parent institution, will have 16,000 students enrolled this fall. Their total new student enrollment take this fall will be somewhere around 3,200, 3,300 new incoming students. So on an annual basis, to maintain our enrollment, we need to take in 50% plus of the new incoming freshmen that Oklahoma State University will take in the fall. So it's a pretty good challenge for our institution to maintain our recruitment program. We're planning on purchasing ACT lists this next fall. We're going to use flex scheduling. We will have people working in the evening doing telephone, telemarketing to students. We have a correspondence program by which any student who expresses interest in the institution will have at least 3 written contacts from the school saying, hey, we're glad you're interested. We hope you come on to our institution. Can we help you with housing? Can we help you with financial aids, etc.? So we have a pretty comprehensive recruitment program, and we have 3 full-time individuals. When the public schools start, they're probably going to be on the road 4 days a week. Admissions is the next step in that particular process, and our admissions office and our high school and college relations office are housed in the same physical facility. Our admissions process is concerned with that particular student meeting the admissions criteria for the institution, us doing assessment, determining where that particular student needs to start as far as if they need remediation in English, math, etc., where we can appropriately place that student to hopefully help them be successful in their academic endeavors here. It's involved with looking at transcripts from other institutions. Right now, 25 to 30% of our students will attend another college or university prior to coming to our particular institution. So we evaluate a large number of transcripts. The key there becomes applicability of hours. We've all heard about the individual who takes X hours and they go to another school and they lose credits. No, you don't ever lose semester credit hours. The question is, are the hours that you take at the other institution in those particular classes applicable to the courses that are part of the degree program here? And we have as much of a problem with students coming from other institutions who have large numbers of hours that don't apply to a diesel technology program. You know, they attended Southwestern University and they were in fine arts and they were studying music. Not many of those courses are going to be applicable for Rick's program in diesel. Likewise, we have a lot of students who come here and they graduate with a great degree in diesel, and they decide that they want to go on to another 4-year institution other than Oklahoma State University or Oklahoma State University. There are many of those hours that are not applicable towards their particular degree programs there. So one thing that you as a mentor and a faculty person or staff person need to realize is in the admission center, we do try to keep transfer guides from Northeastern State University, University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State University, East Central State University, where we've worked out agreements with all of those institutions where they can look at specific courses and they will know which of those courses are applicable to those institutions as far as direct transfer and applicability. So it's, you know, just a piece of information that it's a good referral source for you if you have questions to refer those people back to our admissions office. Also, the admissions office maintains one of the offices for our agency students. When we talk about agency students on our campus, we have in-state rehabilitation students sponsored, out-of-state rehabilitation students sponsored. We have the Eastern Private Industry Council, which is the Job Training Partnership Act type programs. We have somewhere around 17 different Native American tribal agencies sponsoring students on our campus. And then we also have the Veterans Administration, who sponsors 2 different categories of students. Our regular VA benefits, students going to school on the old GI Bill, and then our disabled veterans. So we will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 students who are what we call agency sponsored. Generally speaking, an agency sponsored student, that agency is paying their tuition or their enrollment fee, and they're buying their books. And if they're enrolling in a degree program that requires tools, they will usually buy their tools for them. So if you hear the term agency sponsorship, that's generally what that means, is that they're responsible for their enrollment fees. Most of the agencies require the students to be responsible for their living expenses, i.e. room and board, personal expenses, and other things. There are a few exceptions there. As far as our student life activities, student life on campus, we have a gymnasium. We have a very, very good weight room on campus, and we have a large number of students who participate in our wellness and weightlifting programs. We have intramural sports in volleyball, basketball, flag football, softball, depending upon the season of the year. They also have several fun activities and tournaments that they'll schedule during the year. They sponsor dances and various activities using usually Covell Hall or gymnasium. We also have a 750-seat auditorium. The gymnasium also has a dressing room, sauna available. And then they will do the coordination of funding for all of the departmental clubs and organizations. We ask all of the departmental clubs to have an up-to-date constitution and bylaws on campus. Those individuals then submit requests for funding to the Student Life Department. The Student Life Department will then determine what level of funding that each of the clubs and organizations will receive. Student Life Department operates strictly off of the student activity fee that students pay as part of their enrollment process. That fee is $3 per semester credit hour. So if we generate 70,000 credit hours, let's say during a year, well, the student life budget will be $210,000. So it's directly related to the credit hours that are generated in the student enrollment here at the institution. And then those monies are put back into staff and programming for students. The student life in their particular area in Covell Hall also has the child care facility. We are in our 2nd year of our child care facility now. We're licensed for 48 children. That particular service is available for any student or any employee and or faculty person, and it's on a first-come, first-served basis. If 2 people walk in at the same time and one's a student and one's a staff person, the student's child is going to be taking preference over the staff person's child. because there again, the major emphasis on that is to provide services to allow students to go ahead and go to school. We have right now approximately 60 children who have made applications to use the child care facility this fall, and we can operate slightly over licensing number as long as we don't have them all there at the same time. And we also provide on a scheduled basis special child care. We're going